AskReddit by Rocklaw. What horror movie is a 10/10? The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing is a masterclass in everything that makes horror horrifying. You never get a full glimpse of the creature, and even when you do, it's an amalgamation of everything it has touched and not it itself. The creature isn't even the source of the horror. It's the lack of trust. And they do it without a lot of gore and only one jump scare. Alien. My parents took me to see this in the theater when I was 5. Explains a lot. Edit. My first 1000 karma post is people upvoting my childhood psychological trauma. I'm not sure how to feel about that. Misery is an underrated choice. Masterpiece. Kathy Bates really was amazing in that role. I couldn't imagine anyone else playing her. An unpopular opinion perhaps, but to me, it was The Others. Loved it and I saw it years ago. Edit. I did not expect that so many people liked this movie. For me, this is the kind of horror I prefer, and the mysterious and gloomy atmosphere makes it perfect. As many others suggested, The Sixth Sense is also an amazing movie. I was just thinking about this movie. So good. Nicole Kidman did a great job in it. 28 Days Later. Did you know they're making 28 Years Later with the same cast? Silence of the Lamb. Just the one? Contagion. Not because of any brilliant story acting cinematography, rather it was somewhat mocked for being unrealistic about a global pandemic back in 2011, and yet it was eerily accurate when compared to COVID. Watching that movie again hits different to Davy's release. At the end of the film, everyone rushed to get the vaccine as soon as it became available. That was the most unrealistic part about it. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. Yeah, right. Edit. Edit. Dang, I never expected this to get so many upvotes. I'm surprised so many people agree with me, and I will die on the hill that this movie is the greatest horror movie of all time. A true classic. Seen it probably 100 times. If you were there for the time period, the Blair Witch Project. Kids who are on social media 24/7 now have no clue how many of us thought we were watching actual found footage. The final scene where Mike is facing the wall and the camera drops was absolutely terrifying. Edit. The realness of what we were seeing also had to do with the marketing for the film at the time. Missing posters put up of the three, a creepy website, no cast interviews done or detailed movie trailers before it debuted. The internet existed in 1999 and we all had cell phones, but not to the extent society does now. I seriously thought it was real too. Felt like a dumbass when I found out it's all just a good fake. Them getting lost and sounding genuinely freaked out by stuff and finding weird shit in the woods. It seemed really convincing to me. The first scream. I'm feeling a little woozy here. The Ring. Super disturbing imagery while only being PG-13. Such a good movie. The first Saw is actually really clever. The first Saw is fantastic. I remember the feeling of watching Jigsaw get up off the floor at the end. I truly did not see it coming and I was floored. The Thing. Or Alien. Lol. The two comments above you right now are The Thing followed by Alien. I guess the universe works in mysterious ways. Or like my grandpa used to say, if I hadn't gotten drunk at my company's Christmas party, your mom would never have been born and you would still be in purgatory with all the other unwanted souls. Now eat your damn peas, you ungrateful little shit. Mine. The Thing, 1982. Train to Busan. Cabin in the Woods. 28 Days Later. Evil Dead 2. Good list. Forgot about Cabin in the Woods. Great twist on the genre and really fun. Need to watch Train to Busan still. Wreck, 2007, Spain. Saw it in cinema and the collective anxiety was glorious. The Changeling. https://yahoo.be/hhf7bzukan8 feature a shared closed bracket with George C. Scott. It's one of those slow burns that creeps to the core. The best part is that it's inspired by real Denver families even though the film is set in Seattle and filmed in Vancouver. Chessman is a variation of Cheeseman. The home was the Henry Treat Rogers mansion. The rumors of replaced children and political success reflect stories around the sacred 36 high society founding families of Denver and influential Denver personalities like the Bocher family. Frailty. Poltergeist. I'm talking the first one, not the remake. Poltergeist is a solid answer. I'm super surprised it took me so long to find this comment. The OG Poltergeist is an absolute horror classic. So many iconic terrifying scenes. The remake was The Descent. I really didn't think The Descent was that scary on the first watch. But then, 2 years later, I went to Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico, and when I tell you that the trauma came back tenfold the minute I was underground, I am not exaggerating. I hadn't really thought about the movie at all after watching it, but it unlocked a fear I didn't know I had. Like being that far underground, unable to escape, in complete darkness is absolutely terrifying. I rewatched it a year or so ago, because my husband hadn't seen it, and it scared the shit out of me. Probably the only horror movie that has actually mentally affected me long term. The Thing, 1982. Man is the warmest place to hide. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I've only seen the 70s version. Is a Moa 10/10 sci-fi horror film. 70s version is the best version. I'm a Donald Sutherland fan though, so I might be biased. American Werewolf in London is a timeless classic. Those practical effects really hold up to emo. Still can't think of a better werewolf transformation in a film. Does Cabin in the Woods or Shaun of the Dead count? They are both also comedies. Tucker and Damp. Dale vs. Evil is gold as well. Not a movie, but Haunting of Hill House is easily a 10/10. Hands down the best horror TV series I've seen. Jacob's Ladder, 1990. Tim Robbins, Danny Aiello. Haunts me to this day. Glad to see Jacob's Ladder mentioned. The emotional impact of that film still hits me right in the guts every time. Most horror films feel so comparatively gimmicky somehow. This might sound like a joke answer for non-fans, but Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me is one of the most profoundly disturbing horror films ever made. It's a strange film with lots of odd moments that don't immediately read as horror, but the visuals, audio and story are horrific, and one of those things that gets far under your skin if you allow it. Lynch's movies aren't exactly horror, but they are somehow worse than horror. He really captures the weirdness of dreams. Psycho. Hitchcock was an amazing director. Such a great film. Let the Right One In. Yeah, OG Swedish one was so unsettling. The Shining. All work and amp, no play. Halloween. In my mind, Halloween has always been the spiritual sequel to Psycho, because of the way the score music is used to heighten tension in both movies. I was pleasantly surprised when I learned that Jamie Lee Curtis is Janet Leigh's daughter. Wolf Creek gave me nightmares for weeks after. I didn't even watch it properly till the end, I was too traumatized. I like Texas Chainsaw Massacre though, the 1970s one. Hostel is grim. Wolf Creek was released while I was hitchhiking across Australia. Everybody told me about it when they heard what I was doing, including people I was hitching a ride with while sitting in their car. As Above So Below, 2014. I'm not one usually creeped out by horror movies. I try, but this one did the trick. People getting lost and stumbling into weird unnerving shit in the Paris catacombs? Yes please. Can't believe how much I had to scroll to find this movie mentioned. One of very few movies when I felt the need to cover my eyes. Event Horizon. Where we're going, you won't need eyes to see. Rosemary's Baby. Hellraiser. The Dead Zone. Christopher Walken is super. The story is tight. The rest of the cast is superb, and the climax is fantastic. The first Paranormal Activity made me lose sleep. No other horror movie has. That movie didn't scare me, until about a week later when I started waking up around 3 AM randomly. The Exorcist and Exorcist 3. Both top-notch horror. Skip 2, Heretic. The Exorcist is most still the best horror movie of all time. Jaws. It's actually a perfect movie. Drama, humor, horror and a thriller. It's scary because people get attacked by sharks. https://www.reddit.com/r/public-freakout/s/due to MCIU9W2E (NSFL). The thing about a shark, he's got lifeless eyes, black eyes, like a doll's eyes. When he comes after Yap, he doesn't seem to be living until he bites Yap, and those black eyes roll over white. Evil Dead 2. I'll swallow your soul. My personal favorites are The Autopsy of Jane Doe, The Vivitch, The Ritual. The Ritual was such a surprise, in a good way. For me, it's Hereditary. I realize that's a cliche answer, but that movie had me stuck in place, white-knuckled. Come and See is probably my second choice, although it's not technically a horror movie. Every time someone mentions Hereditary, I feel the urge to sing Toni Collette's praises. She is just so damn good in that movie. Easily one of the best performances in a horror movie hands down. Midsommar is an unsung masterpiece. Truly disturbing. The first Conjuring and Wreck. Wreck was awesome. I'd forgotten about that film. Shaun of the Dead. It is a comedy, but it hits all the right notes and knows when to drop the jokes for something genuinely upsetting. Shaun of the Dead actually has some wonderful cinematography in it as well. Okay, so unpopular opinion. 1996 is The Craft. It is a perfect horror movie. It starts off innocently enough and slowly gets more and more unhinged until the finale with some really fucking good psychological horror build up throughout. Innocent pieces such as the glamour trick from early in the film come back in a really disturbing way. Just grade A film. Too bad the sequel was nowhere near as good, even if I still liked it for what it was. Edit, though I will warn people there's a pretty graphic scene involving Sarah and the way certain characters talk about self-harm and suicidal ideation is extremely gross, not to mention mind control and rape through deception. The Grudge, the original one. I've become kind of desensitized to horror movies, I think because I know the tropes so well that they don't really scare me anymore. I watched the original Japanese version of this movie and realized I'm desensitized to Western horror. First horror movie I've seen in years that actually scared me. That noise was awful. For me, 10 Cloverfield Lane comes to mind. John Goodman's performance terrified the shit out of me. The original black and white Night of the Living Dead. Sinister. The lawnmower scene fucked me up for a minute.